All right, hello. Oops. Hello. All right, okay. So sorry about that. Let's see. So make sure you're doing the right thing. Okay. So this chapter we're covering the skeletal muscular systems. Okay. Um, the muscles interact with the skeleton. Okay. So the muscular system and skeletal system function together. Um, so the muscular system controls contracts and provides motion. Okay, but you can't just have a muscle. You need something to contract against, and what you're contracting against is the skeleton. Okay, that way you actually move instead of just contract. Okay. Okay. Skeletons can take many forms. So there's actually three types of skeleton categories. Okay, the hydrostatic skeletons like worms and soft squishy things like jellyfish are hydrostatic. They just use water and push water around between worm membranes, and that's their skeleton. Okay, obviously that's weaker, but it's more efficient. Okay, it requires less material, it's easier to build, water plentiful everywhere, etc. So, okay, an exoskeleton protects the animal from the outside. So this is an exoskeleton. The exoskeleton is actually really kind of a good thing. Not only does it provide a hard surface to contract against for muscles, it also provides a lot of protection. Okay, the crab is better protected than you are, right? So, okay, the problem with exoskeletons is that the animal with the exoskeleton must periodically molt. Since the exoskeleton doesn't grow with the body of animal. So the body of animal grows, it pushes against this exoskeleton, and then the exoskeleton will molt. So you shed the whole entire exoskeleton, and then the animal will grow and form a new exoskeleton that's bigger than itself, and then it can grow into that one. Okay. Sea stars and vertebrates have an endoskeleton. Endoskeleton is internal support structure. Okay. So clicker number one, the graph below depicts the growth of animal over time. What sort of skeleton does that animal probably have? And the answer to that is exoskeleton, because the when you have exoskeleton, you can only really grow in size in between molts. Okay, we'll set this. Okay, bones are the organs of the vertebrate skeleton. So you have an axial skeleton and a appendicular skeleton. So axial axis is the major line that runs up and down your body. Okay, so this is all the stuff in peach color here. And then you have the appendages. So appendicular skeleton support the appendages. And so your arms and legs and girdles that support them. Okay. One of the purposes of the axial skeleton is to allow a great layer of protection. Okay, the skull protects the brain and then the special senses, and then the ribs protect your heart and lungs, and then even the vertebrae protects the spinal cord. Okay, the appendicular skeleton is going to be much more flexible. Okay, this will consist of arms and legs, and this will allow for movement. Okay, primarily movement, not so much protection. Okay. Okay, bones are connected to muscles and provide movement. Bones and minerals supply calcium and phosphorus to the rest of the body. Bones, and the last thing is the bone marrow. The middle of the blood is, the middle of the bone is hollow and has bone marrow. The bone marrow provides blood. Okay, that's where the blood is actually made. Okay, bones are both lightweight and strong at the same time. Okay, and the best thing to compare to bones is like a hollow lead pipe. Okay, the outside is very hard, that makes it really strong, but inside, okay, is almost the bone is almost hollow. It has stuff on the inside, but very little. Okay. Okay. The bones are made out of two important things. Okay. The collagen proteins and minerals. The collagen proteins add flexibility. So, you know, a lot of times when we look at bone, we look at dead bone, or we look at basically like pictures of bone, and we think of bone as being dry and hard, but really it's not that. If you ever go to like, because we look at dead bone, like after the stuff has been cooked and stuff. If you ever look at live chicken bone, like go to Bonds or Ralph's or wherever you buy like food, go buy like a raw drumstick and feel the drumstick. I mean, you bend it a little bit before it breaks. The collagen fibers make it bend, and the minerals, especially the calcium, makes it hard and stiff and resistant to pressure. And that's what those two combined make bone really, really strong and very, really hard to break. Okay. Um, like we usually think of bones as dead tissue, but bones are very much living tissue. They have veins, arteries, okay, um, and nerves running through them, which is why when you break the bone, it really hurts. Okay. Okay. Bones also contain cartilage. Okay. Cartilage is the major connective tissue in the skeleton. It consists of covers the ends of the bones, consisting of mostly tough elastic proteins. Um, Cartilage resists breakage and stretching, even when bearing great weight. It acts as an excellent shock absorber. So what cartilage actually looks like, okay, it looks like a little mini sponge, and that mini sponge can move. And so when you like jump, that the cartilage in your knees absorbs it squishes and absorbs the shock. Okay. Okay. So I don't know if you remember this from the animal chapter, but the first the first vertebrates, they have bones, they have cartilage, like sharks. Okay. So we actually come from that line. And so like we don't have a normal bone skeleton initially. We develop that. We take cartilage and we ossify it into bone. Okay. And so the bone tissue replaces cartilage as the fetus develops. Okay. The bone develops after birth as bone matrix become slowly mineralized. And so this is like, you can see, this is what a newborn stuff looks like. Okay, which is why newborns can't, like, you need car seats and stuff because their bones are not fully formed, so they can't handle the level of shock absorbance that we can as adults. Okay. Okay, a joint is an area where two bones meet, and that's a joint. And a joint usually it has a little bit of fluid to actually cushion the joint. So the cartilage, you have cartilage surrounding the ends of the joint, and then you have a little bit of fluid that actually allows for movement between the joints. Okay. Okay. And then tendons and ligaments help stabilize movable joints. So a tendon, by definition, is a band of tissue that attaches bone to muscle, and ligaments attach, instead of attaching bone to muscle, ligaments attach bone to bone. Okay. Okay. In addition to um, providing protection and stability, they also help regulate calcium. So whenever we need calcium, okay, we get it from our bones. And we have too much calcium, we can put some of it, we store some of it in our bones. Okay, so it's important to get enough calcium. Calcium is vital for muscle contractions, blood clotting factors, and sort of enzymes. Okay, and a disease that I'm sure you guys know about is osteoporosis. Okay. So, remember, tendon is muscle to bone. So, okay. So muscle movement requires contractile tissues and ATP. So each contraction is generated by ATP. Okay, so and all right, muscles. Okay, so muscles, okay, allow for voluntary movement, control body opening, maintain posture, etc., etc. Okay, first thing, muscles work in pairs. Okay, so what one muscle does, another muscle has to undo. Okay, like if I flex my forearm, I can't just unflex. There's nothing to unflex it. I have to use the opposite muscle and extend my forearm. Okay, so what one muscle does, the other has to undo. Okay, all right, so muscles, okay, are made of two important proteins, actin and myosin. Okay, actin is the thin filament, the thick filament is myosin. Okay, and when muscle contracts, actually what happens when muscles contract is that the myosin actually pulls in on the actin. Okay, so let's look at that list. Okay, um, a muscle, okay, is made of muscle fibers. Muscle fibers is made of myofibrils. Okay, um, myofibrils are made of sarcomeres, and then okay, so myofibrils, okay, and then sarcomere, and then actin subunits. Okay, okay. So here's a sarcomere. Here is so a sarcomere is a functional unit of skeletal muscle. So when you build muscle, what you're building are sarcomeres. Okay, you don't build like individual myosin and actin filaments. You build sarcomeres. Okay, so this is a sarcomere. Okay, this is what happens when it's relaxed. This is what happens when it's contracted. So what actually happens is the myosin stays in the same place and pulls in the actin. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this again, this force is actually generated by ATP. It pulls, it allows the myosin to pull in on the actin. Okay, and that is the power stroke. Okay, the power stroke is where the actin and myosin actually work, and it's powered by ATP. Okay. Okay, a motor neuron, okay, is what stimulates muscle contraction, and you can see this motor neuron attaches to different muscle fibers. Okay, one motor neuron controls many muscle fibers, and that is a motor unit. Okay, neurotransmitter synapse. Okay. Okay, so what actually happens when muscles contract is that the signal comes down the nerve, it releases the neurotransmitter into the synaptic cleft, and this causes a release of calcium, and calcium allows the muscle filaments to contract. Okay, a motor unit is one motor neuron and the few muscle fibers it controls. Okay, the smaller motor units are really, really small. They're just like 5 muscle fibers. Okay, the bigger motor units, the the um, the bigger motor units have hundreds. Okay, so the smaller motor units control fine movements. The bigger motor units control power movements. Okay. Okay. ALS is called Lou Gehrig's disease. It's a disorder in which motor neurons are destroyed. Okay, because the muscle fails to contract because they don't receive a signal to do so. Okay, no motor neuron, no signal to contract. Okay. All right. So ATP generation. Okay, ATP is generated in terms of directly by a protein called creatine phosphate. Okay, this is why you can buy creatine phosphate. Okay, and then you restore the creatine phosphate. So if you have a little bit extra creatine phosphate, you have a little bit extra energy to run. Okay, so the next thing you need is you need to restore that. And so there's 2 ways to do it. Okay, one is aerobic respiration. Okay, aerobic respiration allows you to use oxygen. You breathe in oxygen, and you can use that to burn sugar to make ATP. Okay, anaerobic respiration, you use lactic acid as a byproduct. We covered this already in one of the early chapters. Okay. 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 There are 2 types of muscle fibers: slow twitch and fast twitch. Slow twitch are much more energy efficient. They're smaller, they use energy slowly, and they have high endurance. So if you have a bunch of slow twitch fibers, okay, they twitch slower, they use energy slower, they have high endurance. Okay, so you're going to be able to maintain exercise for many, many hours. Okay, slow twitch fibers allow you to maintain exercise. Fast twitch fibers are larger. They're almost twice as big. They use bursts of energy. They don't actually use oxygen very much. Okay, they contract harder, faster, so they're stronger, but they tire more quickly. So if you're a long distance runner, then you're going to want more slow twitch fibers. If you're a power lifter or you play NFL, then you're going to want fast twitch fibers. Okay. Okay. So people with high proportion of slow twitch fibers excel at endurance sports. Okay. So athletes with higher proportion of fast twitch fibers perform best at fast twitch events, like small, short, fast twitch events, like sprinting. Okay. Okay. During exercise, if you regulate exercise, you cause stress on the muscles. In response to the stress on the muscles, they grow in size. Okay. And in addition to that, they also train themselves to use more energy more efficiently. So more energy efficiency, more blood going to the muscles, more oxygen going to the muscles, more efficient burn, more power, less exhaustion. Okay. All right, that's it for this class. I will see you in class.